Hello and welcome to Health Live at Seniors Today. We are delighted to have here with us is Niti Desai, who is going to be speaking about nutrition care for senior citizens. A little about her. She is a consultant nutritionist attached to the Cumballa Hill Hospital in Mumbai for 17 years. She is secretary and master trainer Association of Diabetes Educators and co-editor of IDA's Clinical Dietetic Manual 2018. She has authored chapters for various textbooks. She is joint treasurer IDA Mumbai Chapter. She's also been writing a column in Health and Nutrition magazine for 18 years and was official nutritionist at the Femina Miss India pageant in 2008. Welcome to Health Live at Seniors Today. Ms. Desai, how are you?
Yes, very well. Thank you. And thank you for your kind invitation. As we were just discussing before this, that you had around 75 doctors with you, but as I told you, it's high time that we do talk about nutrition now.
That's right.
A lot of medical conditions, in fact, have their basis in the right or wrong food habits.
Absolutely. And this is the season of, festivities, etc. So more reason why one must have an eye on nutrition and on diets. But I must tell our readers and viewers here that we've got Ms. Desai in Alibag, and which is where you have fun and frolic, etc. But how does a nutritionist like you manage to have fun in a seaside resort?
Yeah, so I think it's the sun and the sand and the beach that does it. Once you are out of Mumbai, there is a lot more opportunity for physical activity. So all the fun and the frolic, all that you kind of indulge yourself in can be burnt off on the sand, in the swimming pool. So yes, physical activity is something, a very important component, which also I will allude to when we go through the presentation.
I have one question to ask you before we start and before I get into your. In sum, would you say that in the pandemic, people have, because people have stayed home, so they have not been exposed to the elements and the outside food, etc. Has the nutrition habit of people improved in the pandemic, or has it gotten worse?
So unfortunately, there's almost a term coined pandemic weight gain. We're just seeing a lot of that. There has been a lot of weight gain during pandemic for different reasons. As you said, the physical activity was curtailed. More than that, people were, since they were in the house, they were cooking more, they were experimenting more. There was so much of baking going on in the house. And obviously all that was eaten too, all the goodies. So there has been serious pandemic weight gain. However, I would also like to say that I've had a few patients or clients who have taken this period in a very positive way and have taken almost a 360-degree turn when it comes to health. They've lost a lot of weight, they've got fitter, some of the habits they have changed for good. So yes, people have started clocking in their steps because they couldn't go out to the gym. So everybody is trying to take 10,000 steps every day. But on the balance, it has had a negative impact when it comes to nutrition habits or health.
I can understand. So over to you for your presentation, and then we will take questions from people. Those of you who have questions, please put them in the Q&A tab. As always, my request is to please mention your gender as well as your age so that we can have your question addressed better. Over to you.
Yes, a very good evening to one and all, and thank you once again for having me here. We're going to be talking about good nutrition or healthy eating. And I would like to start by saying that perhaps some of you know, it's a very common saying, old saying, which says we are what we eat. So our eating habits are very important when it comes to our health. In fact, Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine, said, let food be thy medicine. So food has been given importance since last many years ago, in fact, centuries ago. which we have kind of come to realize more and more. When it comes to the golden years of life or senior citizens, I think the most important thing that we need to realize is that we need to make an appointment to take care of oneself. One has spent the entire life taking care of the family, the children, maybe grandchildren. Now is the time to take care of oneself more, because it is very important to be living a healthy, long life and a good quality of life. You may live longer, but the quality of life is too important so that one can enjoy the fruits of hard work of the last 50, 60, 70 years. And the good news or the bad news is that the so-called lifestyle diseases that afflicts most of these big cities like Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, and all the other, even tier 2 cities in India, the beginnings or the origins of all these so-called lifestyle diseases lies in nutrition or your food habits. So be it obesity, being overweight, diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol levels, heart disease, gout, acidity, they all go back to your eating habits. One of the most common questions asked in the clinic is, what should be my ideal weight? So for a lay person, for men, if you know your height in centimeters, minus 100. For women, minus 105 from your height in centimeters, and you will have a rough idea as to what your weight should be. More importantly, you should be even just putting a measure tape around your waist, because this is even more important. For men, it should be less than 90 centimeters, for women, less than 80. In fact, the guidelines for being overweight or obese or healthy have been revised. The Indian guidelines have been revised. They want us to be much leaner now than before, because of course the impending epidemic of diabetes and heart disease that we see in our country. But then we all have our excuses, don't we? My bones are heavy, my metabolism is slow, I only have to smell food and I put on weight, I have a lot of fluid retention. Unfortunately, all of these are excuses. 35% you can blame on your genes, whether it's weight or diabetes, but the rest is us. It's our lifestyle, it is our daily habits. So we are very much in control of our health. And it's not that we need to just blame it on our genes or on the environment. So when the most common questions are asked about weight gain, here we need to know that with every decade of life, so whether you're from 40 to 50, 50 to 60, 60 to 70, there's a 10% drop in metabolic rate. So our body starts needing much less calories. Therefore, we need to eat less. But if you continue eating what you were eating at 30, at the age of 60, you're sure to put on weight. And that weight can come in the form of apple shape or in the form of pear shape. Apple shape is seen most commonly in men where the fat deposition is around the abdomen. The good news is that this fat is easy to lose, but the bad news is that this is the dangerous fat. This fat is completely related to diabetes, to high blood pressure, cholesterol levels. While in case of women, the pear-shaped obesity or distribution of fat, where it's more on the hips and thighs, is not so medically dangerous, but the bad news is it is stubborn. It's stubborn to go, and most women will agree with me on this. So the $1,000,000 question, how do I lose weight? Well, it's no rocket science, fortunately, though it's made out to be a lot many times. We basically need to decrease the intake, increase the output, create a negative balance, and the weight loss occurs. And a sensible weight loss program should be a combination of diet and exercise, not one alone. And again, when we talk about senior citizens, there is no way that one can exercise very intensively. We cannot indulge in very vigorous exercise for different reasons. So diet becomes even more important in terms of modifying it. How long will it take? Again, everybody asks that. Oh, I want to get into my old trousers. I want to be ready for my niece's wedding, granddaughter's wedding. Can I lose 7 kilos in 1 month? No. A sensible and realistic weight loss goal is half to 1 kilo a week. Do not try to lose anything more than this. It would, for this age group, we are looking more like half a kilo a week, which comes to 2 kilos a month. And then there are so many diets, right? So many diets come and go. So there has been the General Motors diet, which has been ever so popular, and it's been there since decades. There was the Atkins diet. Presently, everybody's talking about keto diet, intermittent fasting. Unfortunately, all these crash diets are harmful. You will of course lose weight fast, but there is guaranteed weight gain in a very short time. And subsequent weight loss becomes even more difficult. There would be hair loss, there would be low blood pressure, a lot of weakness, fatigue. Yesterday only, in fact, I saw a lady, 80 years old, and she thought that she is eating healthy. She's lost 5 kilos. But with that, there has been so much of fatigue, weakness, there has been muscle wasting. So don't be in a hurry to lose weight, and lose weight the right way. Don't just skip the meals or stop eliminating certain food groups. Like, I don't want to have dairy now because people say dairy is not good to have. Please consult a professional and then decide. So this yo-yo dieting, where one loses weight, gains again, loses again, gains back, is in fact more injurious to health. It may be better to be slightly overweight than go up and down all the time. So how does one need to eat? Again, this is an old saying, but it is very, very true. Eat breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, and dinner like a pauper. In big cities, what happens is that the dinner becomes the main meal. A lot of people skip their breakfast because they're lazy to cook, or there is no help, there are issues there, and dinner becomes the only meal, the big meal. So that is something we need to really change. We also need to, of course, reduce intake of fat, which basically means oil, butter, ghee. There is a lot of talk about, having extra ghee, extra coconut. These are all myths, fads. Please don't be taken away by them. You need to reduce your intake of fried foods, especially bakery products like khari biscuit, butter biscuit, just loaded with maida and fat. And of course, sweets, ice creams, chocolates. The use of coconut and groundnut in cooking needs to come down. Sugar, a lot of people are replacing sugar with jaggery and honey, thinking it's healthy. If you have diabetes, if you're trying to lose weight, they give the same calories. So please avoid that. Intake of aerated drinks, of course, and sharbats. The other problem with the Indian diet is that basically we are primarily vegetarian, and the diet is extremely high in carbohydrates and it's very low in protein. So we are not getting our protein requirements, which is around 1 gram per kg body weight. So if you're a 60 kilo person, you need around 50 to 60 grams of protein in a day. And nowhere are most Indians meeting this requirement. And where do we get protein from in foods? For the non-vegetarians, it's of course the eggs and the chicken and the fish and the meat. For the vegetarians, it's milk, soybean or soybean products, all our pulses and dals. These are our primary sources of protein, and we need to make sure we include them in our diet. We also need to realize that rice, which means poha, wheat, which means even rava or suji, these are all carbohydrates. They are polished carbohydrates. We need to keep their intake low. These are not protein sources. A lot of people think that, oats, jawar, bajra, they are good carbohydrates, good starch, good carbs, but they're still not sufficient protein here. You need to make sure that it's any of this for every meal. Some or the other food source, protein source has to be included. And here there are some very simple tips. So for example, for breakfast, if you're doing aloo paratha, you just need to replace with like a gobi or a mooli paratha with a katori of dahi. If you're doing khakra, you just need to add a katori of moong sprouts or a katori of dahi with it, and it becomes healthier. Toast, have it with paneer or with an egg or with beans. Just having tea and toast is not a great breakfast option. Again, poha, make sure you add sprouts to your poha, add some few peanuts and sprinkle some lime. Again, just poha itself is just rice, polished rice. It's not giving you enough nutrition, definitely not enough protein. Same is the case with the evening snack options. Instead of kurmura or sukha vel, which is a very popular evening snack, make sure you add some chana or gram and some salad to it. Instead of chivra, if you could have a sprout salad or roasted chana, even nuts make a very good evening snack option. So in a very simplistic way, if this is your plate, half your plate should be filled with vegetables and salad, half. 1/4 only should be with your rice and roti, and little less than 1/4 is the protein. What is currently happening is 3/4 of our plate is filled with rice and roti, and there's some little katori of dal, sometimes there, sometimes not even there. So this is something you need to take home as a very simple message. As I mentioned, with the age, the metabolism slows down. So how do we increase the metabolic rate so that one doesn't put on weight, one doesn't feel sluggish? Very simple tips: do not skip meals, sleep tight. With age, the sleep cycle gets disturbed. A lot of people complain of not getting enough sleep. Make sure that you get at least 6 to 7 hours of sleep. Eat lean protein, as we just discussed. Drink sufficient water. You may not drink excess, but sufficient water is required, unless, of course, your health conditions have given you some fluid restriction. And exercise, even a simple walk, even a 10-minute walk 3 times a day works. If you have issues with there's knee pain, there is some hip pain, you're not able to walk for 45 minutes, even if you break it up into 10 to 12 minutes 3 times a day, it works. Talking about fluids now, we've talked about the food. Do not drink your calories, eat them. So juices, aerated drinks, lot of calories, be aware. A lot of people say, I don't add sugar to my juice, it's a fresh juice. It still is a lot of natural sugar. It's better to have fruits rather than juices. For the people who love their alcohol, does alcohol have calories? Well, lots of them. So in fact, every gram of alcohol gives you 7 calories, which is just a little less than what your fat or oil would give you. So one needs to be aware of this. These are some of the numbers for alcohol. It's the carbonated drink. So if you're having rum with Coke, you're doing vodka with Sprite, the carbonated drink is adding a lot more extra calories. So be aware of that. Some of the most calorie-friendly drinks, Bloody Mary, gin and tonic, rum with Diet Coke, and some of the most nasty ones, which can do a lot of calorie damage, like pina colada or Irish coffee. So a lot of patients ask me, what is a balanced diet? What is that kind of, is it something elusive that nobody can achieve? Well, it's very simple. You need to eat a variety of foods and have them in moderation. And you achieve the balanced diet. So a variety of foods, don't just stick to five foods and don't have a load of them, a variety in moderate quantities. Never say no to any food. And if you can't resist a food, don't buy it. Because if you eat something and no one sees you eat it, perhaps it has no calories. So something that you can't resist, it's best not to get in the house. Emotional eating is something that especially a lot of women, even some men do also, but women suffer from. And It's something where we don't eat only when we are hungry, we eat when we are bored, we eat when we are depressed, and we eat also when we are happy. And this can lead to a lot of weight gain. And perhaps there is some truth here because stress spelled backwards is desserts. Physical activity, the other important component, as I just mentioned, again, some of the clever excuses that I've heard in the clinic. Very, very important. Again, for the golden years, the most important thing is it slows down the loss of muscle mass, which is very, very important for you to remain mobile, for the strength. It's very, very important. It helps weight control, of course. It guards against heart disease, stroke. In fact, even if you have diabetes, your blood sugar control will be so much better if you include exercise in your daily routine. Your blood pressure can come down. It guards against osteoporosis, against fractures, Alzheimer's, dementia, and it's of course also protective against cancer. And this could be any form of physical activity. Just a simple walk works very well. People who love swimming, and it is possible though the pools have still not opened, again works very well, where there is no pressure on any of the joints because water takes the pressure. And of course, if you play some game, if you're doing some, if you're active and you're playing a game of doubles or tennis or badminton, very good idea. Or golf for that matter. Even this works. Parking car at the far end and walking up, taking the steps instead of the elevator if your knees allow you. Doing the household chores, getting down at an earlier bus stop and walking up rather than just getting off at the bus stop next to your house. And maybe even getting up and just changing the TV channels instead of just using the remote control. Of course, now the smart TVs don't have even any buttons on the TV, so it's only the remote control that we have to. One thing about exercise is that you're never going to do something that you don't like to do. So find out what you enjoy, because that's going to be something that is going to be sustainable and you're sure to carry on. So the prescription, exercise prescription, 30 minutes of moderately intense physical activity on most days. And try doing things early in the day, exercise first thing in the morning so that the day doesn't tend to get away from you. Because by in the evening, you have enough excuses, you are tired, some guests have come, and then there is no time. Just some calorie crunching for you. So if you have a plate of pani puri, it's around 475 calories, and that means you would have to play badminton for 80 minutes to burn that one plate. A plate of samosa, you would have to play squash, which is a very fast game, and it's not possible in the golden years to play for most people. It would be an hour of squash, which is too much. Dancing for 45 minutes to burn a malai kulfi serving. Yeah. So it's very easy to take in the calories, but very difficult to burn them. Some of the dangerous weight loss strategies that you should definitely avoid: using Ayurvedic powders, tablets, any program which says that no exercise is recommended. Be aware of self-styled gurus. There are people who have just lost some weight and have started giving advice as to how to do it. Any program which guarantees weight loss, as we know, it's only the death and taxes which are guaranteed in life. Programs which suggest vibrators, heat bells, spot reduction machines, please be away from them. Drink lots of water, around 6 to 8 glasses, as I said, but keep a check if you have any fluid restrictions suggested by your doctor. Very important to drink water. It increases metabolic rate, curbs appetite, and flushes out toxins. Some of the vitamin deficiencies that we see in all the time is one, vitamin B12 deficiency. People who avoid milk and dairy for different reasons, those who have gone vegan, or again in golden years, a lot of people not able to tolerate milk. Make sure you perhaps have dahi or paneer. Most of them are able to tolerate small quantities of dahi and paneer. You may not be able to tolerate milk, because otherwise you're going to run the risk of B12 deficiency. Certain diabetic medications also, like metformin, lead to vitamin B12 deficiency. So if you're on a diabetes medication called metformin, make sure you take a B12 supplement. Some of the common problems in golden years: osteoporosis. You need to make sure that you have enough calcium in your diet and from your supplement. The absorption is way better from the diet, so try having more calcium in the diet than just the supplements. Especially in women post-menopause, the requirements are higher. These are some of the calcium-rich foods. Dairy remains the richest source of calcium, followed by certain pulses like chana, rajma, um, sesame seeds, ragi, and for the non-vegetarians, some of the oily fish. Uh, People who restrict milk intake should be more particular about their calcium consumption. Vitamin D, again, we all know that there's a lot of deficiency in the population. It's the sunshine vitamin, very important for healthy bones. For the non-vegetarians, they can get it from fatty fish and cod liver oil capsules. But for the vegetarians, there are not enough food sources, very common food sources. And the requirements, in fact, are higher above 70 years of age. So you need to be careful, make sure that your D levels are good. For hypertension, stop smoking, lose weight, exercise, increase your intake of fruits and vegetables, and reduce your salt intake. This is the most important. And for diabetes, if you need to lose weight, that's your best treatment options. Exercise, have small and frequent meals, and of course, look after the eating habits as we discussed. Reduce the intake of honey, jam, dry fruits, fruit juice, rice, all the white items such as white bread, pasta, noodles, biscuits, and of course, fried foods. Methi helps uh, in diabetes. Sweeteners can be used. There's a lot of reluctance there, but they can be used. Some of the sweeteners, Natura can definitely be used. Sucralose can be used. Stevia can be used. We need to reduce our intake of fat. It is a low-fat diet that we are looking at and not a no-fat diet. So we need to say no to the all animal fats such as butter, ghee, cream, cheese, fat from the eggs and the meat. All the vegetable oils, nuts, seeds are good sources of fat. One of the most common questions asked, which is the best cooking oil to use? Well, you can rotate different oils, buy a different oil every month, or use blended oil, which is a combination of soybean and rice bran. Even a mustard oil, using it for certain dishes is a great idea. Ghee by any name is as damaging, so keep its use in moderation. Do not start using ghee as the only cooking medium. Butter or margarine, which is better? If you have to use butter rather than margarine because this is trans fat. Coconut consumption needs to be moderated. Nuts are a good idea. A handful of nuts every day, superb. Omega-3 is something we need to make sure is there in the diet. Again, for the non-vegetarians, it could be the oily fish such as rawas, bangda, halwa. And for the vegetarians, it would have to be flax seeds, walnuts, bajra, spinach, urad dal. There are certain very humble foods lying on our kitchen shelf which are extremely healthy and they're like nutrition powerhouses. So even our humble onion, garlic, berries, flaxseed, beans are all pulses, oily fish, green tea. Great idea to include them in your diet. Acidity, heartburn, small and frequent meals. Do not keep long intervals. Avoid chilies, red, green. Avoid sour foods. Eat at regular times. That's the best solution to most common acidity and heartburn problems. Eat without guilt. Dark chocolate, red wine, lot of health giving properties and which tastes yum too. So do not just eat your greens, you must eat your reds and yellows too. We've always been told eat your greens, but we need to have dark and deep colored vegetables, all the different hues possible. So nutrition helps add years to life and life to years. And it is never too early or too late to change habit and start good ones. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
We'll just, yes, thank you. We have a few questions that have come in, and can I go to the questions directly?
Yes, please.
So this is from Jay Kumar in Bangalore. It says, kindly, is there any diet regimen for the reversal of clogged arteries of heart patients?
Yes, I mean, a reversal of heart disease is kind of, a lot of people talk about it, ask about it. There are books written on it, but in practical sense, theoretically it is possible, but it is a very, very restrictive, stringent diet that one has to follow, where it will be not, as I said, low fat, no fat, lot of foods will have to be eliminated. So in practical sense, it is not always possible for the reversal of heart disease. It also depends how extensive the heart disease is. If it's only one vessel blocked or two vessels blocked, which are mildly blocked, you can still have conservative treatment with weight loss and dietary modification. But if it is severe heart disease, do not try and go for the reversal.
And the other question he has was usage of coconut, which we've already spoken about. What about coconut oil for patients with heart ailments?
So again, as I said, coconut was very fashionable a few months ago. In fact, a few years ago, a couple of years ago, you go to the Western countries, US also, it was all about coconut cookies, coconut shreddies. But the evidence is out that coconut can be used in small quantities, but it will raise cholesterol. It is not heart friendly. So do not go all out. We have people who are adding coconut oil to their coffee and having like a bullet coffee. It's also part of a keto diet. Do not indulge in these activities. You could use coconut for certain dishes, like with your idli dosa, with Thai curry, with certain cuisines, but you do not have to consciously have coconut oil every day or make coconut oil your only cooking medium.
Right. And one more question from the same person. For post-COVID patients, what is the food regimen to be followed, especially for pure vegetarians?
As I said, most importantly, you got to make sure you include a lot of protein-rich foods in your diet for early recovery, because of course, COVID is a highly inflammatory condition. There is muscle wasting through COVID. So make sure that you include sufficient protein in your diet. Make sure you have your fruits, your vegetables, your nuts, your seeds, so that you get a full complement of all the vitamins and minerals required.
Right. Thank you. We have a question from Mr. Ramanathan Sundar, who is 67 years old from Navi Mumbai. There are a lot of medicines which are marketed as lose or gain desired weight in a few months. You have spoken about this. I could mention some brand, but not sure if I should. But as a practitioner, how do you look at such marketing gimmicks or branding?
I didn't get the earlier one. What was
there are a lot of medicines which are marketed as for weight loss or gain, yes, in a few months. As a practitioner, how do you look at such marketing gimmicks?
Yes, absolutely. They are marketing gimmicks. We still do not have a magic bullet that leads to weight loss. Otherwise, we'll all be out of business. So we are all waiting for that one, but we don't have one. Unfortunately, it is a lifestyle modification. And for weight gain, people don't believe, but for people who have to put on weight, it is more difficult than weight loss. Nobody believes that, but it's a project. So again, we do not have a simple medicine which leads to weight gain. I mean, there would be supplements where they are more dense in calories, more dense in protein. Some people who are not able to cook or do not have the time, the supplements may help increase caloric intake, but there is no magic bullet to weight loss or weight gain.
Right. Thank you. There's a question from Arun Mathur, which you have kind of answered. Is jaggery good for diabetic patients as alternative? You said no. But sugar-free has possible chemicals. Your advice on that, please.
No, there are a couple of sucralose, for example, has gone through enough checks, and it is in fact even advised. It is not contraindicated in pregnancy, so that means it has a huge safety margin. So you can use sucralose as a sweetener. Stevia is a newer entrant in the market. Of course, it's natural, it's plant-based, but we still do not have long-term studies on it. But sucralose has sufficient evidence that it can be used. So there is a lot of hesitancy amongst people not to use sweeteners. So if you are the one who really want your teeth with sugar and miss the sweet taste, ideally is to form the habit of having tea without sugar. But those who can't, you could use the sweetener. Even sometimes you want to have dessert occasionally, you could make sevaiya kheer or dudhi halwa with the sweetener, no issues.
Thank you. We have a question from Shiva Joshi. In fact, there are two questions similar. Shiva Joshi says, I'm diabetic. I'm told I should eat food items with glycemic index less than 40 and glycemic load less than 10. Which food should I eat? There's another question that has come in, which is, Doctor, what about red poha and low glycemic and red rice?
Yeah, so red rice poha, red rice or brown rice is better than the white polished rice, but it is still giving us a decent spike in the sugar level. So if your sugar levels were 180, if you have red rice, it doesn't become 120. It still becomes 165, 170. So because it's red or brown rice, you do not have the license to use large quantities or use it on 3 times in a day. You'll still have to use it in moderation. And as I said, add some dal or sprouts with any rice preparation, your glycemic load comes down, the glycemic index comes down, your sugar doesn't spike. And when it comes to glycemic index and glycemic load, I think it's a slightly technical topic, which perhaps we could take it on another day, because that would take up a lot of discussion. Yeah.
We have a question from Malcolm Montero, who says, I'm underweight by 7 to 8 kilos. I'm currently 67, reduced from 74 in the past year. I'm 68, full health checkup is clear. I'm non-diabetic and no BP. This question is, what would you recommend?
Yeah, of course, your caloric intake needs to be looked at, the caloric and protein intake. Perhaps it has kind of gone down. You haven't realized it. So you need to step up your intake of calories and protein for sure, if there are no other medical issues.
Right. Again, this is something that you've already answered. Does one follow keto diet for weight loss, especially for elderly people?
Oh. Yeah, sorry.
Does one follow a keto diet for the elderly?
Keto diet, the elderly should definitely not get into it, especially if you're a diabetic or you're on different kinds of medication. This is not the diet for you. You will get weight loss, but we have seen consistently in practice that the cholesterol levels just go out of whack. Over 3, 4, 5, 6 months, they shoot up. So, and with diabetes, if you're on diabetes medication, it can create absolute havoc. So keto diet for diabetics who are on medication, not a good idea, especially for the seniors.
Right. There's somebody who's asked about diabetes and what to eat and what not to eat. That I think has already been covered in the presentation. There's a question from Raj Hirimat, who says, is climbing stairs one of the best exercises to reduce weight loss, maybe 2 or 3 times based on one's stamina or appetite?
So the best exercise for the senior citizens would be walking, because that's the least damaging. And then after that, depending on your health condition, something more vigorous could be looked at, but that would be in consultation with your doctor or with your physiotherapist or a gym trainer.
Thank you. We have a question from an anonymous attendee. What diet should be followed by a person suffering from acid influx?
Yes, again, I just kind of covered it briefly. Small and frequent meals, no chilies, completely stop red and green chilies, and it will do the job.
What are the food restrictions for BP, high BP patients, 76 years old?
Main is salt restriction, papad, pickle, cheese, Chinese food, tinned food, processed foods like ham, salami, sausages. You need to cut down on your salt and salt rich foods.
We have a question from Mr. Jayaraman Aylur, who says, please clarify the harmful effects of intermittent fasting. It has been advised by a dietitian from a reputed hospital.
So intermittent fasting, if you are able to do, again, if you're a normal person, there is no diabetes, you will lose weight. Also, if you're on diabetes medication, again, it would need a lot of careful planning. But what we have seen is that with intermittent fasting, a lot of people are ending up with a lot of acidity because there are long gaps between the meals. Also, very healthy foods such as fruits and nuts are getting skipped because you only eat for those 8 hours. And there is no time to have this in between foods. In others, we have seen that a lot of people are eating in anticipation. They are in fact eating the same calories or more calories because they know that they can only eat for 8 hours. And scientifically, what we have seen is that over 6 months, there is more weight loss than you would do the conventional way. But if you look at a longer horizon of 1 year or more than 1 year, the weight just comes back.
Right. Someone has asked about soaking almonds overnight before having them.
Not required. You could just have them whole. If you like them soaked, fine, but there is a lot of nutrition in the skin also. So you should not be removing the skin ideally.
And you had mentioned that dry fruits should be had in moderation. I have 5 pieces of dry fruits, almonds and walnuts. Is that good or bad?
That's good. That's fine. You can continue.
There's a question about deficiency of vitamin B12 is common. What is the possible reason?
The dairy, as I said, for those, dairy is one of the richest source of for the vegetarians, and for the non-vegetarians, the non-veg food gives vitamin B12.
Right. We have a question from Dr. Smita Ahirkar, who asks, is cold pressed oil better than refined oil?
Yes, if the cold pressed oil is used immediately in a couple of months' time, in fact, in the first month, if the cold pressed oil is lying on the supermarket shelf for 2 months and then you buy it and it's going to lie in your kitchen for next 3 months, it is losing its all goodness. In fact, then it is more harmful to use a cold pressed oil. So if you want to use a cold pressed oil, buy it fresh. Kachi ghani ka tel should be got from the ghani and used in a very short period of time. Then it has its benefits, nutrition benefits. Otherwise, it's more harmful.
We have a question from someone who says that if I need, do you do teleconsults or do you only meet people? I'm not in Mumbai, and how does one consult with you?
Yes, we, of course, with the pandemic, there has been even tremendous increase in the online consulting. So teleconsulting is very, very much possible. And perhaps Ms. Maheshwari could share the contact.
So I will pass on your clinic numbers.
Yes.
And your email ID over there. There's one question from 78-year-old Satish Kalia, who says, food recommended and not recommended for a 78-year-old person whose kidneys are affected.
Extremely technical. We need to sit and plan it. Kidney disease diet is extremely challenging, especially if one is a diabetic, which most people are. So that needs a lot of careful planning. So yes, we can always plan it. And as somebody asked, even if you just go on www.nitidesai.com, you get all the details.
Great. Thank you very much. We have one last question how does one lose fat in the abdominal region? Again, I think this can, you could have to be very some detailed.
So if you're a man, the good news is it's easy to lose the abdominal fat. And the bad news is, as I said, make sure that you lose because it has a direct correlation with all your health parameters. So if you're a man, it's easy to lose. That's the plus.
Great. Thank you very much, Ms. Desai, for this session and for a very informative presentation. Thank you very much. And thank you to everyone here. We've had an excellent session with Ms. Niti Desai about nutrition. We would be having the takeaways and the video on Seniors Today, the Seniors Today website on Monday, as always, in the webinar section. So please log in there. You may need to register because it's a new website and we are requiring everybody to register. So you'll have to register and then access the video as well as the article. Thank you very much. And we will be back once again next week with another session of Health Live at Seniors Today. We have Dr. Rajesh Arya, who's coming in next week, and he is going to be talking about fracture of the neck of the femur. So those of you who would like to take some advice on that, please come in for that. And we have put in the registration link on the chat window, and you could do that. Thank you very much once again, and have a good weekend.
Always a pleasure. Have a good evening.